At 12:47 a.m., the streets of Chicago don't feel empty. They feel watched. A cold wind slid between the buildings, carrying the distant hum of traffic from the highway, but down here, on this narrow stretch near South Loop, everything felt still. Too still. The victim lay under a flickering streetlight. Male mid-30s, well-dressed, no signs of struggle. Like he never even had the chance. Detective Marcus Hale stepped under the police tape, his shoes crunching lightly against grit and broken glass. He didn't rush. He never did. Every crime scene told a story, you just had to let it speak. Officer Diaz approached, notebook in hand. Name Eric Havorson, tech consultant, no priors, clean life. Marcus nodded once, eyes still scanning the area. Time. Estimated between 12:40 and 12:50 a.m. Marcus crouched beside the chalk outline. The medical examiner had already zipped the body into a bag, but the mark remained, silent evidence of precision. No defensive wounds, Marcus asked. None, Diaz replied, like the others. Marcus exhaled slowly. That made four. 4 victims in less than 10 days. All different. All unrelated. And all dead before they could even react. He stood up and looked down the street. A row of dark buildings, closed shops, a bus stop with no one waiting. If you were him, Marcus said quietly, why here? Diaz frowned. Low traffic, easy escape. Too obvious, Marcus muttered. His gaze shifted to the streetlight. Flickering. Unreliable. Just enough darkness between flashes. And then he saw it. A security camera mounted on a corner building, but angled slightly away. Blind spot, Marcus said. Diaz followed his gaze. You think he knew that? Marcus didn't answer right away. Because that was the problem. This killer didn't just act. He prepared. Back at the precinct, the board was already crowded. Photos pinned in uneven lines, names written in black marker, times circled in red. Marcus stood in front of it, coffee untouched in his hand. Victim 1, female 28, West Loop, 12:32 a.m. Victim 2, male 41, River North, 12:51 a.m. Victim 3, male 22, near Chinatown, 1:07 a.m. Victim 4, male 34, South Loop, 12:47 a.m. Alina stepped beside him. You've been staring at that board for 20 minutes. Marcus didn't move, because it's wrong. How? They're not random enough. Alina raised an eyebrow. That sentence doesn't make sense. Marcus finally turned to her. Exactly. He pointed at the board. Different ages, different genders, different neighborhoods, no shared jobs, no shared routines. Which means random, Alina said. No, Marcus said firmly. It means designed to look random. Alina crossed her arms. So what's the real connection? Marcus walked closer to the board and tapped the timestamps. Time. Alina leaned in. 12:32. 12:51. 1:07. 12:47. Her expression shifted slightly. They're all within the same window. Midnight to 1:15, Marcus said, every time. So he hunts at night. That's not exactly groundbreaking. Marcus shook his head. No, he works at night. Alina paused. You're thinking night shift. Marcus nodded. Someone who belongs in the dark. Someone who doesn't stand out walking around at that hour. Alina considered it. Security guard, delivery driver, medical staff. Marcus's jaw tightened slightly. Someone used to life and death. The autopsy report came in an hour later. Marcus read it twice. Then a third time. Alina watched him. That bad? It's worse, Marcus said quietly. He handed her the report. Single wound, Alina read. Precise entry point, minimal blood loss externally. Her voice trailed off. This wasn't messy, she said. Marcus shook his head. It was controlled. Elena looked up, like he knew exactly where to strike. Marcus nodded. Like training. The room went quiet, because now the list of suspects got smaller and more dangerous. Later that night, Marcus returned to the fourth crime scene alone. He did that sometimes. Came back when everything was quiet, when the noise of the investigation faded, because that's when details came alive. The street looked different now. Less chaotic. More honest. He walked slowly down the sidewalk, retracing the victim's last steps. Step by step. Streetlight flicker. Shadow. Light again. He stopped. Something didn't feel right. He looked across the street. There a parked car. Old model, dark color, easy to miss. Marcus walked toward it. Empty. But the position. Perfect view of the sidewalk. Perfect angle. He circled the car slowly, then crouched near the curb. A faint mark. Tire residue. Fresh. Marcus stood up, mind racing. He watches first, he murmured. Waits. Chooses. This wasn't impulsive. This was selection. Controlled. Intentional. Marcus pulled out his phone and snapped a photo. Then another. Because now he knew something critical. The killer didn't just attack randomly. He studied his victims first. Back at the precinct, Marcus pinned a new note on the board. He watches before he kills. Elena read it, so he stalks them. Marcus nodded, at a distance enough to stay unnoticed. Elena leaned against the desk. That means time, patience. And confidence, Marcus added. Elena exhaled. This guy thinks he's untouchable. Marcus didn't respond. Because deep down, he was starting to agree. At 12:43 a.m., the radio cracked to life. Dispatch to all units, possible stabbing, victim down but breathing north side. Marcus froze. Elena looked at him. Same time, she said. Marcus grabbed his coat instantly. Let's go. The sirens cut through the night as they sped across Chicago. Marcus's grip tightened on the wheel. Because this time, the pattern had broken. The victim was alive. Which meant one thing. The killer had made a mistake. Or something had interrupted him. When they arrived, paramedics were already working. A young woman lay on the pavement, pale, shaking, barely conscious. Marcus rushed over. What's her status? Critical but stable, one medic said. She's fighting. Marcus knelt beside her. Hey, stay with me, he said calmly. Her eyes fluttered open. Fear filled them instantly. Marcus leaned closer. You're safe now. Her lips moved. Barely a whisper. But Marcus heard it. He was watching me. Marcus felt a chill run down his spine. Because that confirmed everything. He glanced at Elena. This wasn't just a killer. This was a hunter. And now, they finally had someone who saw him. The question was, would she live long enough to describe him? Or would the night shift killer come back to finish what he started? The emergency room at Northwestern Memorial was controlled chaos, monitors beeping, gurneys rolling, voices low but urgent. Outside Trauma Bay 3, Detective Marcus Hale stood still for once, hands in his coat pockets, eyes fixed on the frosted glass. Inside, surgeons worked on the only person who had ever survived the night shift killer. Her name's Rachel Kim, Elena Cruz said, flipping through a thin file. 26, graduate student, lives alone, no priors, no connections to the other victims. Marcus nodded without looking away. What was she doing out that late? Library, said she needed quiet. Marcus let out a quiet breath. She got it. Alina glanced at him. You think he picked her because she was alone or because he watched her first? Marcus finally turned. He always watches first. A doctor pushed through the doors, pulling off his gloves. She's stable for now. Lost a lot of blood, but the wound missed anything immediately fatal. Can we talk to her? Marcus asked. The doctor hesitated. Briefly, she's weak. Don't push her. Marcus nodded once. We won't. Rachel looked smaller in the hospital bed. Pale, fragile, wrapped in wires and bandages that seemed too heavy for her to carry. Her eyes flickered open as Marcus and Alina stepped in. Fear came first. Always fear. Marcus softened his voice. Rachel, I'm Detective Hale. This is Detective Cruz. You're safe. Her breathing quickened slightly. He's gone, she whispered. For now, Alina said carefully. Marcus pulled a chair closer and sat down. Rachel, what you tell us can help us stop him. I need you to focus, okay? She nodded faintly. Marcus leaned in. Start from the beginning. When did you first notice him? Rachel swallowed, her throat dry. I didn't, not at first. Marcus exchanged a quick glance with Alina. Take your time, he said. I left the library around midnight, Rachel continued. It was quiet, too quiet. Her fingers tightened slightly around the blanket. I felt something, like someone was there, but every time I looked back, she shook her head weakly. Nothing. Marcus's voice stayed calm. He kept his distance. Rachel's eyes widened slightly. Yes, exactly. Alina stepped closer. Did he ever get closer? Rachel hesitated, then nodded. At the corner, she said, near the crosswalk. I stopped to check my phone and he was there. Marcus leaned forward. How far? Not far, she whispered. Close enough that I should have heard him. Silence hung in the room. That's when I knew, Rachel said. Something was wrong. Marcus's jaw tightened. What did he do? Rachel's breathing grew uneven. He didn't say anything, she said. He just looked at me. Alina frowned. No mask. Rachel shook her head. No. Marcus felt something shift. This wasn't just confidence. This was control. Describe him, Marcus said quietly. Rachel's eyes searched the ceiling, replaying the moment. Average height, she said slowly. Dark clothes, nothing special. That's good, Alina said. Keep going. Rachel's voice dropped. That's what scared me. There was nothing special. Marcus stilled. Because that meant one thing. He could be anyone. His face, Rachel added, it was calm. Calm, Alina repeated. Rachel nodded weakly. Not angry, not rushed, just calm. Marcus felt a chill crawl up his spine. Because that matched the crime scenes. No chaos. No panic. Just precision. Then what happened? He asked. Rachel's hand trembled. I turned to walk faster, she said, and then he was behind me. Alina's eyes narrowed. That fast? Rachel nodded. I didn't hear him move. Marcus leaned in slightly. Did he say anything then? A pause. Then, no, Rachel whispered. That's the worst part. Her eyes filled with tears. He didn't say anything. He just grabbed me. The heart monitor spiked slightly. Marcus kept his voice steady. You're doing great, Rachel. Stay with me. He pulled me back, she said, and then. Her voice broke. Marcus didn't push. He already knew the rest. What made him stop? Alina asked gently. Rachel blinked slowly. I don't know, she said. Something distracted him. Marcus frowned. Like what? Rachel's eyes shifted slightly. Lights, she said. Headlights maybe, or a car. Marcus sat back. That was the mistake. The interruption. The only reason she was still alive. Rachel, he said carefully, when he was close, did you notice anything, anything at all? She closed her eyes, concentrating. Then, yes. Marcus leaned forward. What? Rachel opened her eyes again. He smelled like, she hesitated. Like what? Elena pressed. Rachel swallowed. Like a hospital. The room went silent. Marcus and Elena looked at each other. Same thought. Same realization. Marcus stood slowly. Thank you, Rachel, he said. You did more than enough. As they stepped out into the hallway, Elena spoke first. Medical field. Marcus nodded. Or someone who spends a lot of time in hospitals. Elena crossed her arms. That still gives us a lot of people. Marcus's eyes hardened. Not as many as before. Back at the precinct, the energy had shifted. This wasn't a guessing game anymore. This was a direction. Marcus stood over a city map of Chicago, marking each crime scene. Every location is within walking distance of a hospital, he said. Elena leaned in, but not the same hospital. Exactly, Marcus replied. He rotates. So he doesn't get tied to one place, Elena said. Marcus nodded. He's careful, smart. The tech analyst approached. Detectives, we pulled night shift records from nearby hospitals. It's a big list. How big? Elena asked. Hundreds. Elena sighed. Of course it is. Marcus didn't react. Because something else was bothering him. He let her see his face, Marcus said. Elena looked at him. Yeah, that's unusual. Not just unusual, Marcus replied. Intentional. Elena frowned. Why would he risk that? Marcus's voice dropped. Because he doesn't think we can find him. Silence. Then, or Marcus added, he wants us to try. Before Elena could respond, the tech analyst spoke again. We also recovered partial footage from one victim's phone. It's not clear, but... Marcus turned. Play it. The room dimmed as the video started. Shaky footage. A man walking down the street. And behind him, a shadow. Keeping distance. Matching pace. Waiting. Elena leaned forward. That's him. The figure stepped slightly into the light. Still not clear. Still just out of focus. Then suddenly, the figure looked straight at the camera. Still. Calm. Watching. Marcus stepped closer to the screen. His eyes narrowed. Because something about that face, that expression, felt familiar. Too familiar. The video cut out. Silence filled the room. Elena turned to him slowly. What is it? Marcus didn't answer right away. Because his mind was already connecting pieces. Moments. Faces. Places. Then finally. I've seen him before, Marcus said quietly. Elena's expression tightened. Where? Marcus stared at the frozen frame. His voice dropped. I just don't know where yet. And that was the most dangerous part. Because if Marcus had seen him before, then the killer had been closer than they ever realized. Closer than anyone ever noticed. And maybe still was. Marcus didn't leave the screen. The frozen frame, grainy, low light, barely enough detail, shouldn't have meant anything. But it did. There was something in the way the man stood. Not aggressive. Not nervous. Balanced. Controlled. Like someone used to pressure. I know him, Marcus said again, quieter this time. Elena studied the image. From where? Work, old case. Marcus shook his head slowly. Not a case. Then what? Marcus didn't answer. Because the truth was worse. It felt like memory without context, like recognizing a face in a crowd, but not knowing why. Run facial reconstruction, Marcus said finally. Enhance whatever you can. The tech analyst nodded, already typing. It's low quality, but I'll try pulling structure points. Alina leaned against the desk. Even if we get a face, we still have hundreds of night shift workers. Marcus didn't look at her. Then we stop thinking like police. Alina raised an eyebrow and start thinking like him. Marcus nodded once. Routine, movement, control. He walked to the board and stared at the timeline again. 12:32, 12:51, 1:07, 12:47. Then he grabbed a marker and circled something new. Gaps. Alina stepped closer. What are you seeing? He's not rushing, Marcus said. He has time between kills. Meaning? Marcus turned, meaning he's working a shift. Alina's expression sharpened. Breaks. Exactly. Marcus pointed at the map. Hospitals with flexible night rotations. Places where staff can move between buildings, floors, even locations. Alina nodded slowly. Travel nurses. Or float staff, Marcus added. The tech analyst suddenly spoke up. Detectives got something. Both turned instantly. The enhanced image appeared on screen. Still not perfect, but clearer. Clear enough. A face. Ordinary. Forgettable. And yet, recognizable. The system processed for a few seconds. Then, match found. Name Daniel Mercer. Age 42. Occupation, registered nurse. Employment, rotational night shifts across multiple hospitals in Chicago. Alina exhaled. You were right. Marcus didn't react immediately. He just stared at the name. Because now, the hunt had a face. Within minutes, they pulled Mercer's full profile. No criminal history. Clean record. Consistent employment. Positive evaluations. He's invisible, Alina said. Marcus nodded. That's why he's effective. They scanned his work history. Different hospitals. Different departments. ER, ICU, surgical support. Access to everything, Alina muttered. Medical knowledge, tools, timing. Marcus's jaw tightened. And death. They moved fast. Too fast, maybe. Because speed meant pressure. And pressure made mistakes. But they couldn't wait. Not with another night coming. Mercer's apartment sat in a quiet building on the edge of the city. No noise. No movement. Just stillness. Marcus signaled to the officers. Quiet entry. The door was unlocked. That alone was wrong. Marcus pushed it open slowly. Inside. Silence. Clean. Too clean. Alina stepped in behind him, eyes scanning. No signs of struggle, she whispered. No signs of life either, Marcus replied. They moved through the apartment carefully. Kitchen spotless. Living room minimal. Bedroom. Empty. Closet. Half full. Alina frowned. He packed. Marcus nodded, not in a rush. Everything felt intentional. Like Mercer had expected them. Like he had planned for this moment. Then Marcus saw it. A door slightly ajar at the end of the hallway. He pushed it open. And stopped. Maps. Dozens of them. Pinned to the walls. Spread across tables. Every part of Chicago marked, studied, divided. Red circles. Crime scenes. Paths. Routes. Alina stepped in slowly. This is organized. Marcus walked closer. Each map wasn't random. It was layered. movement patterns, lighting conditions, camera placements, even patrol routes. He studied everything, Marcus said. Elena pointed. Marcus. A fresh mark. Bright red. Still wet. A new location. Dated. Tonight. Marcus checked his watch. 12:38 a.m. His voice sharpened instantly. He's out right now. Sirens cut through the city as they raced toward the marked location. Marcus's focus locked in. No hesitation. No doubt. Because now, they weren't reacting. They were intercepting. The street was quiet when they arrived. Too quiet. Marcus stepped out of the car, scanning instantly. Then, he saw him. A man walking alone. Head down. Phone in hand. Unaware. Marcus's instincts kicked in. Stay sharp, he muttered. Elena nodded. Then, movement. From the shadows, a figure stepped out behind the man. Silent. Controlled. Mercer. Marcus's pulse spiked. Police, he shouted. Everything exploded at once. The victim turned, confused. Mercer froze. Just for a split second. Then ran. Marcus sprinted. Adrenaline hit hard. Feet pounding against pavement. Breath sharp. Focused. Mercer moved fast. Too fast for someone his age. But not panicked. Still controlled. Still thinking. They cut through an alley. Trash bins. Broken fences. Tight corners. Marcus gained ground. Stop, he shouted. No response. Mercer turned sharply. Vaulted over a low barrier. Marcus followed. Closer now. Just a few feet. Then, Mercer disappeared. Marcus stopped suddenly. Empty alley. No movement. No sound. Impossible. He turned in place, scanning everything. Doors. Fire escapes. Windows. Nothing. Elena caught up, breathing hard. Where did he go? Marcus didn't answer. Because he didn't know. And that was the problem. Backup flooded the area within minutes. Search teams spread out. Flashlights cutting through darkness. Nothing. No trace. No direction. It was like Mercer had vanished. Marcus stood in the alley, trying to slow his breathing. Replaying every second. Every movement. Every turn. Then, it hit him. Marcus looked up. Fire escape. Unlocked. Accessible. He stepped closer. Fresh scuff marks. Elena followed his gaze. He went up. Marcus nodded slowly. Then across. They both looked at the rooftops. A network. Connected. Perfect escape route. Elena exhaled. He planned that too. Marcus's expression hardened. Everything is planned. He looked back toward the street, where the intended victim now stood surrounded by officers. Shaken but alive. Because this time, they had interrupted the hunt, but not ended it. Marcus turned back to the alley. His voice low. He saw me. Elena frowned. Yeah, but... No, Marcus cut in. He saw me. Not just a glimpse. Recognition. Awareness. Connection. Elena understood. That changes things. Marcus nodded. Yes, it does. Because now, the hunter knew who was hunting him. Later, back at the precinct, Marcus stared at Mercer's file again. But this time, it felt different. More personal. More dangerous. Because this wasn't just a case anymore. It was a game. A controlled, calculated game. And Mercer had just made one thing very clear. He wasn't running. He was adapting. Marcus looked at the board one last time before walking away. 4 victims. 1 survivor. 1 suspect. Still free. His voice was barely a whisper. This isn't over. And somewhere in the city, Daniel Mercer was already planning his next move. Not rushing. Not hiding. Just waiting. For the right moment. For the right victim. Or maybe, for Marcus. Marcus hadn't slept. The city outside the precinct windows shifted from black to gray to a dull morning blue, but none of it registered. His mind was still in that alley, still chasing a man who moved like he had rehearsed every second. Because he probably had. Elena dropped a fresh cup of coffee beside him. You're going to burn out before he does. Marcus didn't touch it. He let us find the apartment. Elena sat across from him. You think it was intentional? Marcus nodded slowly. Everything about him is intentional. Elena leaned back. So what? The maps, the marks, the location, all of it was staged. Not staged, Marcus said. Shared. Elena frowned. Shared. Marcus finally looked up. He wanted us to see how he works. A quiet silence followed. Elena's voice lowered. That's not confidence. Marcus shook his head. That's control. They went back to Mercer's apartment that morning. Not as officers chasing a suspect, but as investigators trying to understand a mind. Forensics had already swept the place, but Marcus wasn't looking for fingerprints anymore. He was looking for meaning. He walked slowly through the same rooms. Kitchen, living area, bedroom. All empty. All stripped of identity. Except for one thing. The hidden compartment beneath the floorboard. Marcus pried it open again. Inside, a small metal box. Elena crouched beside him. This is what you mentioned. Marcus nodded and opened it carefully. Inside weren't weapons. Not tools. But paper. Old. Worn. Preserved. Newspaper clippings. Case reports. Photos. All organized. All connected by one detail. Late-night attacks. Victims walking alone. Years of them. Elena picked one up. These go back more than a decade. Marcus flipped through them faster. Each one was similar. A person alone. A sudden attack. No suspect caught. Unsolved, Marcus said quietly. All of them. Elena looked at him. You think he was tracking them? Marcus shook his head. No. He held up a clipping. I think he was studying them. Then Marcus found it. At the bottom of the box. A photograph. Different from the rest. Not a victim. Not a crime scene. A memory. A younger Daniel Mercer. Standing beside a woman. Both smiling. Both unaware of what would come next. Elena leaned closer. His wife. Marcus nodded. He flipped the photo over. A date. 15 years ago. Elena checked the files again, scanning quickly. Then she found it. Marcus. She handed him a report. Female victim, assaulted while walking home alone after midnight. Case unsolved. Marcus read it once. Then again. Location. Chicago. Same city. Same pattern. Same silence. She didn't make it, Elena said quietly. Marcus closed the file slowly. Now it made sense. Not random. Not chaos. Purpose. Twisted. But clear. He couldn't save her, Marcus said. Elena nodded. So now he tries to control what happened. Marcus shook his head. Not control. He looked at the clippings. Atone. That night, Marcus made a decision Elena didn't like. You're not seriously doing this, she said. Marcus checked his watch. 11:58 p.m. I am. You're going to walk alone, like bait. Marcus met her eyes. It's the only way he comes out. Elena's jaw tightened. Or the only way you don't come back. Marcus didn't respond. Because that risk was already part of the plan. At 12:31 a.m., Marcus walked alone through a quiet street in Chicago. No backup in sight. No sirens. Just silence. He kept his pace steady. Not too fast. Not too slow. Just like the victims. Because he knew Mercer would be watching. 12:36 a.m. Footsteps. Soft. Measured. Behind him. Marcus didn't turn. He let the silence stretch. Then, you don't have to do this, Daniel. The footsteps stopped. For a moment. Nothing. Then a voice. Calm. Controlled. You shouldn't be alone out here. Marcus exhaled slowly. Same tone Rachel described. Same emptiness. Marcus turned. Daniel Mercer stood a few feet away. No mask. No weapon visible. Just a man. Ordinary. Forgettable. And completely still. Marcus studied him. You picked them carefully, Marcus said. Same situation, same mistake. Mercer tilted his head slightly. They're not mistakes, he replied. Marcus stepped closer. They're people. A pause. Something flickered in Mercer's eyes. People forget, Mercer said. They think the night is safe. Marcus shook his head. You made it unsafe. Mercer's expression didn't change. No, he said. I remind them it already is. Marcus took another step. You're not protecting anyone. Silence. Then Mercer spoke again. I couldn't protect her. There it was. The truth. Raw. Unfiltered. For the first time. Not controlled. Marcus's voice softened slightly. And now you're punishing everyone else. Mercer's jaw tightened. They need to understand. Marcus's eyes locked onto his. They don't. Another pause. Tension thick in the air. Then, movement. Vast. Mercer lunged. Not wild. Precise. Trained. But Marcus was ready. He sidestepped. Grabbed. Forced Mercer off balance. They hit the ground hard. A short struggle. Controlled. Brutal. Then, cuffs clicked. It was over. Just like that. No dramatic ending. No chaos. Just silence. Sirens filled the distance as backup closed in. Mercer lay on the ground, breathing steady. Not panicked. Not afraid. Marcus stood over him. All this, he said quietly, for control. Mercer looked up at the dark sky. I gave them awareness, he said. Marcus shook his head. No. He tightened the cuffs slightly. You gave them fear. Days later, the city moved on. News cycles shifted. People returned to routines. But something had changed. Because for a while, the streets after midnight felt different. Heavier. Quieter. More aware. Marcus stood outside the precinct, watching the city lights flicker on as night returned once again. Elena stepped beside him. You stopped him, she said. Marcus didn't respond immediately. He looked out toward the streets of Chicago. Then finally, "No," he said. "I stopped one version of him." Elena frowned slightly. "What does that mean?" Marcus's voice dropped. "There are always more reasons like his." He turned away. Different faces, different stories, but the same darkness. Elena watched him for a moment, then followed. Because in a city like Chicago, the night never really ends. And somewhere, someone is always walking alone. And